Welcome to the Physical Product Movement, a podcast by Fiddle. We share stories of the world's most ambitious and exciting physical product brands to help you capitalize on the monumental change in how, why, and where consumers buy. I'm your host, Ken Ojuka. In this episode of the Physical Product Movement podcast, I talk with Clara Paye, CEO and founder of UNiTE Food. Her story is awesome, how as an immigrant she was dissatisfied with the nutritional bars in the grocery aisle, and how that inspired her to start a line of nutritional bars with a culturally diverse flavor profile. Clara launched her food brand right as the pandemic was starting, and immediately had to rip up her marketing plan and cancel trade show booths due to the pandemic. She talks about how she views the pandemic as a great equalizer for up-and-coming food brands like hers, and how she was able to thrive and grow her company in the middle of such a difficult and unprecedented time. Clara was a great guest. I hope you enjoy this interview. All right, Clara, how you doing?
I'm great, Ken.
Yeah, hey, welcome to the podcast. I appreciate you taking the time to jump on. I'm actually pretty excited to talk to you, just understanding that you launched your brand, UNiTE Food, about a year ago. And I think it's a very interesting year to launch a product. And I think that you'll have some interesting things that you could share with us about it.
For sure.
But first, let's kick it off with a quote. Is there a quote that you could share with us that's been impactful to you?
I do have a good one.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
And I think for me, being like a 40-something first-time entrepreneur, it's really, you're never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream by Les Brown. And
that's awesome.
Yeah. And I think so many people get in the track so early in life, like in your 20s, you don't realize it, but that first job that you choose really sets your life on a trajectory. And it takes a lot of self-reflection and guts, so to speak, to really change the trajectory of your life. If you're in a career path or a field that you don't necessarily love, it's never too late. And I think that a lie a lot of people tell themselves is, it's too late, I'm too old, I don't know enough. Like, you can always acquire the knowledge. You might have to take a pay cut and you might have to start from the beginning, but that it would be so worth it if it's something you're truly passionate about rather than just phoning it in.
Yeah, that's awesome. And in fact, I think contrary to what a lot of people believe, entrepreneurs in their 40s, that's actually the norm. You know, that's where most people start businesses. Sometimes we get into our head, thinking that you have to be 20 something to start a business, but that's not true. And then kind of along the same lines, I was just listening to the story of the KFC founder, and exactly. He was in his 60s when he started KFC.
He sure was. And Vera Wang was in her 40s when she started Vera Wang.
Yeah, perfect. That's a great quote. All right, so why don't you just tell us a little bit about UNiTE Food and what makes you guys unique for those who've never heard of your brand?
So UNiTE is the world's first globally inspired protein bar. It was really born out of my own frustration in wellness, in that I didn't really see flavors that I wanted to eat in health food. So when you want to eat healthy, there's all these flavors that are offered to you. And the predominant one being, apple pie or blueberry, or, I'm talking about protein bars, or peanut butter and chocolate. And it just seemed like a lot of the flavors out there were just run of the mill, same flavors. And being from a different culture myself, I just didn't really identify with those flavors. And I didn't think that, others in my same situation would identify with them. And that's why I kind of created UNiTE Food. It's, I took inspiration from the world around me and the cultural and heritages that have impacted me the most, and created this new category, and better for you kind of ethnic wellness. But, it's been an interesting flavor journey for me, coming up with the flavors. And then, we also introduced a peanut butter and jelly at our launch, and people don't understand how that fits into the set. And really, it's about the mission of the brand to unite everyone. And my American heritage and culture is just as important to me. So I didn't want to leave anybody behind. So we always say we're building a bigger wellness table, one where everybody can have a seat.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you mentioned coming from a different culture. What's your background? Where are you from?
So I was born in the Sudan in Africa. So I'm Sudanese, and my parents were born there, like multi-generational. And in the early 80s, my dad and mom didn't, saw that there would be no opportunity for us, their kids, in Africa. And so they picked up and moved to America. I mean, they had 3 kids under the age of 5, which is nuts to me. I can't even
Yeah.
get, across the country with 3 kids under the age of 5 in my own country, right? So to like move countries, move cultures, and we immigrated here, and we're on political and religious asylum, and started over in Los Angeles. So that's kind of where I grew up.
And how old were you at that time when you guys moved?
I was just under 5. I was 4 years old.
Okay. All right. And so I love the mission. And so maybe you could describe a little bit more about, what you saw in the grocery aisle, and, what about it wasn't, really resonating with you.
Well, it was really through just personal experience. I wasn't one of those people that sat back and said, okay, what's missing in this space and how can I fill this need? It was a personal journey. So I relied on protein bars to kind of fuel my days. I was a busy executive, working crazy hours, traveling all over the place. And protein bars were really like a crutch and my fuel. But I just didn't like them. And I didn't know why I didn't like them until, I would go to the market and try to find one that I would like, but they were all the same. They all were the same flavors over and over. And it kind of just hit me, there isn't any true variety here. It was which is ironic to say in the space that's so crowded, but there isn't variety, but there truly wasn't culturally relevant flavors to choose from. So I grew up in LA. So we have access to every type of cuisine and ethnic background that you can think of. If you want a great Filipino food, or if you want a great Vietnamese food, or if you want a great Japanese, or of course, Spanish and Mexican food, you can find it. And so it's I think what makes where I live in this country so amazing is it's fabric of cultures and influence. And I just didn't see that reflected in wellness at all. And, kind of the big realization was it's really hard to stay on a healthful path in wellness if none of the flavors you're being offered really you can relate to are things you normally would eat or normally want to eat. So it's fine to say, yeah, eat a bunch of kale, but if you don't like kale, you're not going to eat it, right? It'll be short-lived.
All right. So you were talking just a little bit about LA, LA being a huge hub, for a bunch of different cultures, lots of different cuisines. Could you take it from there?
Sure. I'm super thankful to have been brought up in Los Angeles where, the ethnic influence is everywhere. And so whether you want to go eat Filipino food or Vietnamese food or great Japanese or great Spanish or Mexican food, there are plenty of authentic places to choose from. And really, maybe I'm, I have this perspective because I too am an immigrant, but I think that's what makes this country great is this that melting pot of variety that we have that gives us diversity of thought and diversity of culture and new opportunities to try and understand the world around us. So, I took that inspiration and saw that wellness really needed that diversity. And, we want to be that brand that stands for diversity and wellness. We want to bring in global flavors for those that, might want to taste of home or those that are just adventurous eaters and want to try different things.
And so for those who haven't seen, what flavors do you have? So you mentioned peanut butter and jelly. I see you have a churro flavor as well.
Yeah, we launched in March with a churro flavor and a Mexican hot chocolate as well. And churro gets its inspiration from Spain and Portugal. And, it's just delightfully, cinnamony and sweet and got little bits of crunch in it. And then we've got Mexican hot chocolate, was a rich chocolate, dark chocolate with almonds. And then it's got a sprinkling of chili in it. So it's got a little bit of a lingering heat, but not much because kids are actually the biggest fan of that one because it's basically looks and tastes like a candy bar, but wink, wink, it's super healthy because the first ingredient's almond butter and almonds, and it's got hemp seeds in it, and it's super full of omegas and things that help boost your immunity and keep you full too because they're high fiber.
That's great. Yeah. Could you talk just a little bit more about the nutritional profile?
Yeah, so the bars are all gluten-free and have 10 grams of protein, which, is a great amount of protein to keep you satiated. And they have prebiotic fiber in them, which, we hear a lot about probiotics, but probiotics don't work unless you've got prebiotics in your system already. And prebiotics are what cause the probiotics to work in your tummy. And, the first ingredient's always a nut butter. And it's got usually a variety of nuts and hemp seeds. It's sweetened with dates. And it's just super healthy and healthful. So we get a lot of nutritionists that reach out to us and tell us that like our macros are perfect. And we've had like lots of articles written about us because we're under 200 calories. We're high protein, high fiber, and kind of that ideal nutrition deck for wellness, which was really important to me.
Yeah, that's great. And you mentioned you've got a couple little kids too, and so you're obviously developing this with them in mind.
And co-developing it, right? Like they're my taste testers. So, kids are great. They're a great barometer of honesty because they won't eat something that doesn't taste good. So, I kind of like formulate with them in mind.
Yeah, for sure. And I've got a few kids myself, and yeah, they're definitely not shy about telling you when they don't like something.
Exactly.
So, okay, so I want to rewind just a little bit. You mentioned that you were a busy executive. What were you doing? What was your work?
So for 17 years, I ran my family business, which is plumbing manufacturing and distribution, which is like totally different. But really, there's a lot of parallels in distribution and logistics that there are in food. But we sold plumbing supplies nationwide and internationally. It's rough plumbing. So it's not like the sexy, beautiful shower heads. It's kind of like the stuff behind the walls that makes it all work. And we did like appliance connectors and things like that.
Okay. And so you're working in that business and you are dissatisfied with what you're finding in the grocery store. I want you to just kind of tell us a story of, when did you know that you wanted to create a bar? What were some of the first things that you did in order to validate the idea, to see if this is even something that was possible? Just the very early days of coming up with this idea.
I've always been a problem solver, right? And I think that if there's a problem, like I want to solve it. So before actually I did the protein bars, I also launched a line of kids swimwear, which was to basically trick my kids into wearing their sun hats. So that brand is called Tiny Crowns. And, I noticed that like kids didn't want to wear their sun hats. And so I was, perplexed as to why, because that was the easiest way to protect them. And we have skin cancer in our family. So I wanted to protect their scalp. Mm-hmm. And there really isn't a great way to do that. You can put sunscreen, but it'll run into their eyes. So the best solution is just to wear their sun hat. But of course, kids don't want to wear them. And it was this like very frustrating thing at the pool or the beach or just being outside. And so I tricked them by making them into costumes. So I put crowns on hats and fireman hats and princess hats and unicorn hats and ninja hats and made like full UPF 50 rash guards and shorts to go with them so that it was part of a costume, and that tricked them into just being protected.
Oh, very cool.
And so, yeah, I've kind of always just seen obstacles and wanted to solve them. And I was, very happy in my family business and grew the business, and it's, but it was a lot. And I was a mom and wanted to do something that also was a little bit more authentic to me, wanted to be an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. And I turned 40 and, like kind of like that quote that we went over, it's never too late to, cast a new dream for yourself. Basically, you're never too old to set another goal or dream a new dream. I thought, like this is something that needs to be done. And I got really passionate about the mission of offering diverse flavors in wellness, because there are lots of people who want to eat better but don't relate to health food. And if we can create that bridge, then we can really have impact.
Yeah, very cool. So what was the first thing that you did towards launching this?
So the first thing I did was I go into my kitchen and say, like, what would I make if I was like, making an ideal nutrition profile snack to eat for me and my kids, and like literally went to Trader Joe's, bought a bunch of ingredients and just started experimenting and, played with flavor and like had my best friends. I'm lucky that I have best friends from all over the world. So, one best friend's from Mexico City, and one's Peruvian, and one's Japanese, and one's Filipino, and just had them all taste the things that I was coming up with in my kitchen. And when they really liked it, I knew, okay, then it's close. And then I found a food scientist to help me kind of make it, manufacturable and, kind of convert my kitchen formula into a production ready formula, and then found a co-packer and launched the brand. So, I mean, that sounds like it's so easy, but there's like a million little steps in between all of that. But, probably worked on it for a year and a half before my launch in March.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask next is, what was the timeline from idea to actual launch to product in hand?
Yeah, it was about a year to have product in hand, and then launching, we had our first run in January of last year, with the intention of launching at Expo West, which, we had our trade show booth set up and we were ready to go and ready to like make our impact. And then obviously the entire world shut down at that same moment. And so it was in one part a blessing. People didn't see it that way. So a lot of people were coming up to me saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry that this is happening right when you launched your brand." And to me, it was an equalizer. So everybody was going through COVID, right? The entire world. It wasn't like my competition had an edge on me, other than they already had retail relationships and they already had, things maybe further along, but we were all in the same boat. So we all had to pivot. And there was this great network of I was new to natural products and I didn't know anybody in the industry, but a lot of leaders out there rallied around emerging brands and gave us a voice and gave us a chance to tell our story. And like, that would never have happened in the plumbing industry where I came from. Right. So I even fell in love more with the industry after that. I got, to go on Startup CPG with Daniel Sharp and, Ray Latif put us on Elevator Talk, and we just got a platform and a chance to, for me to tell about the bar and about the mission. And things went well for us last year. We got into retailers, we opened up distribution. So we still were able to move the business forward. But we're really excited about what's to come this year.
Yeah. So you mentioned, Startup CPG, and that you found a community. What are some of the other communities that you plugged into, or ways in which you found other people who were kind of going through this as well?
Oh, there's so many great ones. So the Tardigrade program with Elliot Began, Food Buddy with Jordan, even platforms like Snack Magic and Snack Nation all created kind of like a community for us. And then, I'm in a female CPG food founder group, the network of executive women. There's so many literally to choose from.
And so, for somebody who might be going through, something similar, trying to get plugged in, what's the best way to find these types of groups? It seems like, you're connected to so many, but is there any specific way that you even found out that they existed?
LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is such a powerful tool for learning your industry. This industry specifically, lives on LinkedIn. So a lot of people use it. A lot of founders use it. A lot of investors use it. So it's a great opportunity to learn what's kind of going on in the industry, follow people that you admire. That's what I do. I see what they're commenting on and I follow more people. And, at the beginning of this, probably last March, I might have gone on LinkedIn once in a while, but in my previous industry, it was just like a place where you just got solicited. It wasn't really where my industry interacted. We interacted more at trade shows. But natural food, I was like, wow, this is there's a flurry of activity on LinkedIn. And so when I got on there and, now I probably have 3,000 connections.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great tip for people. And so it sounds like, you had to like everybody else, you had to pivot your plans for launching your brand. I'm curious what else changed. So you mentioned, what was it? Natural foods. Is that Expo West? Is that the one that you mentioned, or was it?
Yeah, Expo West. It was in March. Yeah, so everything got canceled, and so we just started I just started networking with people in the industry, and got a chance to pitch some retailers and had some wins, and so we went into Bristol Farms in June of last year and had just great success there at a time when the industry was down. Our velocity was so high. With Bristol, and we never promoted it even there. So it was just, our everyday price. And we sold so many bars and people really loved the product. And so that gave me the encouragement to just keep going, right? And trying to, also to develop our direct to consumer business to help, because you had to pivot.
Right.
And just, we opened up KeHE and UNiFi warehouses. So it was a building year. So it was like laying foundation, meeting the right people, hiring the right team members to kind of help with the growth.
And so for those who don't know Bristol Farms, can you describe that a little bit?
Oh, sure. Bristol Farms is a chain of grocery stores in Southern California. It's higher end, really high quality produce and high quality meats and seafood. And it was a great test for us, a great way to see how our brand would do at retail.
Yeah, it's a great store. And so how did you get connected with them? Did you reach out to them? Did you send them samples? Did you meet their buyers? How did that work?
I went into the local store and pitched the store manager. And so that's how it started. You kind of like knock on the doors, right? And it'll be opened. And so pitched the store manager who connected me to the buyer who brought it in. And it was awesome because it was a chance to show, I'm local, so I live in the area. And so it was a way for them to highlight their local residents. And so having a local brand there is something that's important to them to engage with their community. So it was a win-win for both sides.
Right. And in fact, I think that's something that that's more and more common is a lot of grocery stores and different chains are trying to highlight smaller up and coming brands, local brands, healthy brands. And so they're actually more open to talking to you than I think most people would realize.
Yeah, I think it's about connection. And so you can't be afraid to go after what you want. And so in COVID, actually emerging brands were hurt because people were panic shopping. And so emerging brands actually lost market share for the first time. Mm-hmm. And big national brands were able to reclaim shelf space that they had lost to emerging brands. But now that the pandemic is more under control, I think we'll see emerging brands kind of reclaim that shelf space. And so that's where the real innovation happens. That's why, people are always watching emerging companies because we're innovating.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the buyer has changed, the average shopper, actually your story of being dissatisfied, when there's a million different, it's a pretty crowded space. There's a million different types of bars out there. And yet, it's still not necessarily meeting your needs. And so I just think brands or buyers are just much more open to trying new things and wanting exactly what they want instead of settling for what's there.
The point you're making is actually a really important one, Ken. And the buyer almost has to suspend their own prejudices to be able to think outside the box, right? Because if the flavor doesn't relate to you because of your upbringing, doesn't mean it won't relate to somebody else in their upbringing. Does that make sense? So that's why the I in UNiTE is intentionally small, because we believe that in order to actually unite and bring people together, you have to diminish kind of you suspend your own beliefs a little bit to try to understand the world you're in and the world around you. And so it's when the buyer isn't reacting from a personal perspective, but is looking at it from a macro perspective that we think that there's great opportunity.
That's awesome. And so I want to kind of get back to this, the conversation about, what you had to change, so obviously, when you launch a new CPG brand like this, most people would consider trade shows like you were, but obviously mm-hmm. those weren't an option, at least for last year. You mentioned that, you had to figure out direct to consumer. So mm-hmm. Did you already have your website developed, for launch? And were you already planning on, having your own Shopify site and driving, buyers directly to your site? Or was that something that you developed once you saw what the pandemic was doing?
No, we already had it developed. So we launched our website in February, right before Expo. But and there was an opportunity to buy direct there, but it was never purpose built for the direct to consumer space. It was really built for, yes, we will, if somebody wants to replenish and buy it directly from us, we'll definitely service that customer. But really it was built from a perspective of we're going to be in retail And retailers need to come and see that you're a real business and like, what is your offering, and be able to research the business. So I actually spent the last 6 months kind of tweaking the website. And so we're actually getting ready to launch a new site anytime in the next couple of weeks. And so it'll be more optimized for direct to consumer. It'll have more information on it. And really, it's an evolving thing that we're going to continue to innovate.
Sure. What about Amazon? Did you launch on Amazon pretty much right away?
Yeah, we did launch on Amazon probably in April. So yeah, like the next month. And it's something, we struggle to like really be super successful at, but I feel like we're getting our footing there.
Okay. And what about other marketplaces, like Fair Marketplace or Thrive? Did you go into any of those?
Yeah, we did. We did Fair, which has been a great partner. We're in the other store. We were on Hubba before they shut their doors, which was very sad. We are on Snack Magic, which we do really well on there. So there have been some alternative kind of marketplaces where we've been able to create brand awareness.
Okay. And so if you had to kind of break down your, percentage of business from direct to consumer versus retail, what would your numbers kind of fall at?
It's probably 50-50 at this point. But this coming year, retail will overtake direct to consumer because we've been more focused on it.
Okay, got it. And so do you have any upcoming, retail partnerships that you want to talk about?
I do, but I can't talk about them just yet. We are launching with a major retailer in June, which we're very excited about.
Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And the interesting thing, too, that I've seen, along this point is that a lot of retailers actually look at your direct-to-consumer business, and that actually can help you to get into retail, right?
Yeah.
And so that's actually a very common path. A few of the brands that I know real well actually had people like Costco or Target that approached them because of how well they were doing with direct-to-consumer.
Absolutely, it definitely is a great testing ground.
All right. So the other thing I wanted to ask about is, did you launch with the 3 flavors right away, or did you just launch with 1 flavor?
No, we launched with the 3.
Okay. And so, obviously you guys are very passionate about the flavors, and it's, pretty critical to your mission and to your brand. How are you guys thinking about additional flavors and going forward?
So we want to crowdsource our flavors and really build a community around UNiTE. So I want to make this brand like for the people. And, I would say like, United We Snack, but it's really about understanding what our community wants and developing those flavors. So anybody can go on our website and submit their flavor that they would want to see that would represent them. And so we get great ideas from that, but we want to make, global flavors. So, we'll have like an Asian inspired flavor, and we'll have, other flavors from other regions of the world that will, round out the brand.
That's awesome.
And we'll continue to test. Yeah. We'll continue to test flavors.
All right. So, do you have business partners with this? What about your team? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I'm a solopreneur, but I do have a great team behind me. So I've got a great CFO. We've got a great marketing team and a great outside sales team. And then we've got a great operations consultant. So everyone kind of works around the brand. And we've been able to really create some interesting growth through that model. And my husband also is part of my team.
Pretty much whether he wants to or not, I'd
pretty
imagine.
much, yeah. Like he's, sometimes he's wrapping pallets and sometimes we're going over brand strategy. He's actually head of marketing for the LA Clippers. So he comes from the NBA. And before that, he worked in NASCAR. So he's got the sports marketing side. So we're marketing geeks. We actually met in the MBA program studying marketing. And so we geek out on that stuff.
Okay, yeah. So that's what I was going to ask. It seems like you focus a lot on marketing and even just in the way you've positioned your product. There's a level of sophistication with marketing, and so that's your background. Is that what you were doing with the family business before?
Yeah, so marketing is my background. I ran the business there, so it was like operations and marketing and sales and everything else and HR. But with marketing, I'm extremely passionate about the consumer, right? I think businesses should not try to guess what their consumers want, they should just ask them. And they should talk, kind of create their KPIs and what's important in their company based on who's actually paying the bills, which are your customers, right? And so I'm relentlessly will pursue the consumer insight. And so we do lots of surveying. We do lots of, just I will like stalk people at the grocery store and ask them why they're buying the bar that they're buying, why they like it, and I'm friendly, so people don't think it's creepy. But I'll ask, I'll be in the aisle, be like, oh, why, help me pick one. Like, which one do you pick? Which one do you like? Right. And so just come at it from being an open canvas. And so just really understanding the voice of the consumer is super important to everything I do.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you for an example of doing that with UNiTE. And so, stalking people at the grocery store. How does this work out? And is this about your product? As they're looking at your product, or is it any product, and you're just trying to get in their head?
No, like get in their head. This is like probably earlier on before we were on shelves, and I would be at whatever grocery store, and I wouldn't just like sit there and wait for somebody to come down the aisle. That would be creepy. But if I was in the aisle and somebody was in the aisle too, I'm pretty chatty, and people like, I can interact pretty easily with people, and I don't have that like, I don't know, like insecurity around talking to people. And so I think it comes from being like an immigrant and moving around so much as being little. Like I went to 8 different schools before high school. So I always was making new friends. Mm. And so I will naturally just strike up a conversation and just try to understand. But then I also, use survey companies to try to survey people. So it's not like, me asking specifically, but like a third party. We get insights from like our Snack Nation partnerships. So I really want to, understand objectively, because your friends and family will just tell you what you want to hear. What you want is like the cold, hard truth. And
right.
I love when people, when I stumble across a video or something that where somebody's uploaded a review of our bars, and I'm like, yes, no, awesome. And so to me, it's invaluable.
Yeah, that's great. And so other things with marketing, are you guys, are you currently driving traffic to, directly to your site? Are you guys, on Facebook, buying ads, or Google AdWords? Are you doing anything like that?
We do social media ad buying on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay. And is that working okay for you guys? Or, there's so many mixed results with these things.
I feel like, so the bar category got hit hard during COVID because this is an on-the-go product. So you eat it when you're on a plane, on a train, at your kid's soccer game, mm-hmm. When you're traveling, not necessarily when you're just sitting stuck at home. And so the bar category as a whole took a big hit last year. And so we were lucky in that we didn't know any better. So that was our baseline. But we are seeing it pick up this year. So now that like things are opening back up and people are getting back to somewhat of a normal state, we will hopefully see that continue to improve.
Okay, great. And you mentioned that you are looking to launch a new website. What about trade shows? Are you guys planning on attending any trade shows when they start up again?
Probably not this year, but in 2022 for sure.
Okay. I guess anything else that you're working on right now that you could share with us. You mentioned a new retail partnership, a mysterious one that you can't tell us about, but which is pretty exciting. But what else are you working on, and what's the future look like for UNiTE?
We're working on 2 new flavors, so this will hopefully launch by the end of the year. And we're also working on just expanding our footprint in retail. We do have some, good wins here to celebrate, and then building brand awareness. So helping people hear about UNiTE, inviting them into the story, inviting them in to partner with me and let's bring, flavors that you guys care about. So I love connecting with people. The best way is through LinkedIn because I'm always on there. And, I'm just Clara Paye. So if anybody wants to connect or has any questions, feel free to reach out.
Okay, cool. And you mentioned submitting flavors. Is the best way to contact you on LinkedIn, or is there a place on your website that they can do that?
There's a form on our website that you can fill in. So.
Okay, great. And your website again, for those who don't know, what's the URL?
UNiTeFood.com.
Okay, well, wrapping up here, I just wanted to go through a quick fire round. I'll just
Okay.
ask you 4 questions and tell me the first thing that comes to your head.
Okay.
All right, what's one tool or resource that's helped you the most in your current position?
Books.
Any books in particular? That was actually the next one, what's one book that's helped you?
Nail it, then scale it.
Nail it, then scale it.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. And what is one piece of advice that you'd give to your 21-year-old self?
You already have everything inside you to succeed.
And who is one person that you'd love to take to lunch?
That's such a good question. There's so many. I would love to take to lunch probably Gary Hirschberger from Stonyfield.
And how come? I don't know him.
He just has a really interesting founder story. So I love when entrepreneurs create things from scratch. Or actually, also the Chobani founder, Hamdi Ukulele. I always butcher his name, Ukulele. Like I relate to his immigrant story too. And so, Stonyfield and Chobani kind of launched around the same time. So they would be good to take them both to lunch.
Okay, that's awesome. All right. Well, I think that this has been great. Particularly, I liked your point about the blessings of COVID to a brand new business, trying to find its way and how it equalized things. I think that's pretty awesome. Do you have any parting words for anybody that's out there just kind of working in the world of physical products? Maybe they have a new brand or they're considering launching a brand. Do you have any words of advice for that person?
Surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, because you'll go further. And then lead with optimism, lead with abundance. There are always opportunities, even in the darkness.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. That's inspiring. Well, you have been a great guest. I appreciate you hopping on. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, take care. Bye-bye. The Physical Product Movement Podcast is brought to you by Fiddle. To find out more about Fiddle and how our industry-leading inventory ops platform is giving modern brands and manufacturers full visibility into their inventory and operations, visit fiddle.io. And then make sure to search for Physical Product Movement in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Fiddle, thanks for listening.